Okay, we just talked about using multiband compressors to make life easier for an overworked limiter. And let's continue on with that with other processes that I like to use to make life easier. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the brick wall, or I keep saying that, keep turning off the multiband compressors because I want you to hear what's going on. I want it to be a little more obvious than maybe it would be in real life, because when we start getting down to it, this stuff should all be pretty invisible. We should hear very little stuff. So that's why I want to hear it when everything's just going all to hell. Okay, and so the thing I'm bringing up is a 2-bus compressor. There's always a lot of debate whether you should compress the 2-bus and why you should do it. And I think it's a really easy question. A lot of people, I don't know why this is so difficult. You turn it on, play with it. If it makes your song more awesome, leave it on. If it doesn't, take it off. That's the end of it. It doesn't have to be any more complex than that. If you watch on Pensado's Place, and Dave Pensado is this A-list mixer with a million trillion hits, and he's like, yeah, I'm still not sure if I'm getting this whole 2-bus compressor business. Well, that's because his mixes probably just don't need it. But sometimes, and it's more like indie rock stuff, I just like to squash it with a compressor. I think it's cool. I think it adds something. I don't do it as much on electronic music and stuff, but to each his own, and you can make it work. There's no rules here, and every time you start to make a rule, it ends up getting changed anyway. There's always some exceptions. So anyway, when it comes to getting the mixes loud, though, 2-bus compression can be a big help. And a lot of guys talk about, oh man, that mix is so compressed, as if it's squashed, no dynamic range, that kind of thing. And that definitely happens. And I think the brick wall limiter has its way of knocking peaks off without really messing with anything under those peaks. In other words, you can really squash with a brick wall limiter and not come out squashed, I guess. It's just getting the bad guys, and that's it. Assuming you're not pushing it so hard where good guys are getting hit too. Whereas stereo compressors can do a whole lot of good, but they can also really kind of, suck the life out of the thing. So you got to be careful. And, I know I've seen Chris Ordalge, he just uses like 1 decibel reduction. He's just barely doing anything. And it's probably even more for color than for actual, compression. At least that's what he said in one video. Who knows if he's telling the truth. But other times, 4 or 5 decibels of compression or more can be really cool. And I like to mix into compressors. I like to turn this thing on right when I start. When 10 minutes after mix is on, here it is. I turn it on. So I didn't do that in this case because I just threw this together real fast because I wanted us to fight through problems. But let's just go ahead and play with this compressor and see if we can get anything interesting out of it to sound cool. Although our real purpose here is to get loud, and so I'm looking for ways to take pressure off that limiter, which we do have distorting like crazy on purpose right now. Okay, so no 2-bus compression at all. Okay. Okay, I'm noticing a few things. For one, our limiter definitely hasn't worked as hard, but we need to talk about why. I didn't use the makeup gain there. All I did was start compressing it, and I'm compressing it hard for the method I normally use, which would be just 1 decibel. By getting up to 3 or 4 decibels, we're going to make an obvious impact on the mix. Soft stuff is going to come up. Bridges that were like really quiet, where there's an obvious change in dynamics, will have a less change and a less obvious change, and that could be a problem for some mixes some of the time. But so we made the mixer or the brick wall limiter's job way easier, but really all we did was turn it down, and we turned it down exactly by whatever this meter is telling us. So most of the time 3 or 4 decibels. So really we need to get this thing back up to 3 or 4 decibels to make this an even fair assessment, because it doesn't really matter if all we did was make it quieter. Well, it's the same thing as turning the limiter down. Okay, so I just bumped that up to where I'm guessing it's 3 decibels. I really don't know. Can't really tell with that stupid labeling. Damn you, UAD, and your adherence to vintage. Anyway, here we go. Forever waking up, always somewhere else. A seriously complicated eternal gift. Another place in another time. Got rid of deities. Okay, what the compressor did do, it evened out some stuff. There were some things that were like before, where the limiter would, the level at least would fly way up, and we have some dynamics in here. This particular verse is kind of going and stopping and going and stopping or whatever. So cutting in and out with guitars and whatnot. But what I noticed was within the loud stuff, we'd hear, if the vocals got really loud, we'd see that jump, and the compressor kind of tamed that a little bit. Now, I don't know if we tamed it the amount I would prefer, and I got to decide if I want to use this 2-bus compressor as a utility, for purposes just to contain level, or if I'm looking for actual color. And this particular plugin can do a little bit of both. I got a hardware tool I prefer over this, but me and Cubase are fighting right now, so I'm not gonna. And it's easier for me to show you on video. There, that's it. All right, so let's play this compressor a little bit and see if the attack and release times, which I usually just kind of leave default. This particular setting is kind of a classic one, sorta. So, Minnesota. But let's just see what happens by monkeying with this. And I heard something very obvious happen when we switched to 1.2 second release. So this thing is slowly releasing. I've had good luck in the past with that on other compressors too. Something about that Mr. Glue's in no hurry to let go. I find it does something cool. I don't know how to explain it, but let me show you. Let me hit play here again. We'll focus on this chorus. And in case you guys are going, I can't hear a damn thing. Well, it is subtle, and I think it's more of an issue of knowing what to listen for. Distortion always goes up on fast releases with low-end material, and that's just a physics thing, and I'll spare you the deal, but just remember that bass can wreak havoc on compressors that have very, very fast release times. So what I think we heard was there were certain kinds of distortion, certain kinds of that when I turned it up to 1.2 seconds, it kind of went away. Now, there may be artifacts later. Maybe the verse hates this, whatever. I don't know. But I'm going to go with that setting for now. Now, I don't know if I want to go this aggressive either, so let's keep playing. And it's important to note that we agreed that I was going to mix this at -4 decibels RMS. And so if I start getting louder and louder with this, but then just slam the limiter up to even crazier levels, then you're not going to really tell if the compressor helped or not. So it's important for us to maintain that goal and see if we can maintain or to meet our -4 decibel RMS goal, but do it in a way where it's prettier and sounds better. That's the idea. So let's keep playing. Okay, and you can hear on those guitars that the wah going into this chorus. Those are a telltale sign that we have a problem with something in our limiting. It's distorting badly in that bad kind of way, or crappy kind of way. Here. Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind, and meaning those guitars having problems. Right now, that compressor and limiter together are doing pretty nicely. Oh, and we got the Cambridge helping out by pulling out the deep low end stuff. Now, just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and toss we'll use Soniformer. I'm going to toss our multiband compressor on and see if the combination of a compressor and a multiband compressor will make our job way easier on this limiter who's working hard. 2 decibels louder than he should be, mainly. Okay, and the combination of just the well, let me look at all my stuff. I don't want to leave anybody out here. The combination of the two-bus compressor, the Cambridge knocking off some of the deep stuff, and then Sonoformer just catching each little band a little bit when it gets out of whack and leave it alone when it's not, is making the job much easier for the maximizer here, the brick wall limiter. We're still getting some distortion problems, but it's coming together real nicely.